This is WhyBeAre with Drift Up the Hill. And on the main menu, we got one bright red button that says Dorito. Excuse me, Dorifto. But you know what? Dorito sounds just as good, doesn't it? So anyways, we're going to go ahead and go into that, and then we get to choose where do we want to drift. And if you've ever watched Initial D, you might recognize some of these locations. We're going to start at Gunma just because it's the first one listed. And then we get a choice of a vehicle. We got an AE-68, a Suprix, an XR7, or a World War II tank. And that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, and it's just kind of this weird thing. How about instead of doing something weird for the start, though, we start with a regular vehicle. Now over here we also have this other button that enables the day and night cycles. I do want that, so we're going to click it, but it's in a beta, so if there's any glitches because of that, just be aware that it is a beta. This whole game is an early access, actually. I should probably mention that as well. Anyways, we're going to get the AE-68, which, strangely enough, looks almost identical to an AE-86, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. So the game starts you in the interior of the vehicle, so I'll point out some of the neat details about the inside of the vehicle, and then I'll let you listen to how the game sounds because you hear the engine the most when you're on the inside of the vehicle. So on the interior, we have a little cup of water, just like Initial D. So when I'm driving all over the place, I can splash water on everything. Also, we have a little chime when the RPMs get too high, which is again very similar to the AE-86 from Initial D, which had a chime, which is a stock part on some AE-86s that were produced. It's just this annoying chiming noise that would come on anytime you're going over 65 miles per hour. And I'll go ahead and let you guys listen to that sound as well as the sound of driving in general because you get the most sounds when you're on the inside of the vehicle. See, I even included some crashing in there so you can hear what the crashes sound like, which is basically nothing. Like you hear just really faint bing bing. That's the sound of a car crashing into a wall at 100 kilometers per hour. Anyways, in addition to what you heard, there would also usually be Eurobeat music playing, but I do not know the copyrights on that music, and I don't want to have any sort of copyright issues with this video, so I turned the music off for recording purposes. On to the next camera angle, which is this highly zoomed out one. It's so zoomed out you can't even see the car, but when you actually can see the car, which is most of the time when you're actually on the road, actually all the time when you're actually on the road, I've never had a problem with it before right there, you can really easily see the corners that are coming up, which is really nice if you don't know an area. So you kind of got a preview of the corner, you know how much to slow down roughly, more than if you're using a closer camera angle, such as the next one I'll be showing you. But before we do the change, I want to drive around at least a little bit with this one so you can see what it looks like. The weird thing about this camera angle is the car is virtually silent. Like you can listen real closely and hear just a very faint sound of the car, but with me talking, there's probably almost no way you can hear it. Like it's faint enough where I cannot rely on the sound of the vehicle for shifting. That's the bad part. So I'm pretty much always in first gear. I might be topping out first gear and I don't know it because I can't hear it just going, I'm gonna blow up, you're revving me too much. I'm just happily doing it, revving it as hard as I possibly can. So anyways, next camera angle is a very traditional racing game camera angle directly behind the vehicle. And you'll notice the vehicle can slide out from the camera a little bit so you can see the sides of the vehicle. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to independently control the camera. So if you want to see what the side of a vehicle looks like, your best bet is to just slide it around corners, or better yet, instead of sliding it around a corner, try to do like a little 360 maneuver like that. That's the best way to get a good look at the vehicle. Yeah, unfortunately, there is no better way that I could figure out. You can't just, rotate the camera or anything convenient like that, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. You might have noticed also there is Japanese text on the right side of this vehicle. Again, very much like the AE86 from Initial D, but I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm also sure it's a coincidence that they're both the exact same color and, well, almost identical vehicles. You know what? Maybe it's not a coincidence after all. Maybe this car is just kind of a ripoff of an AE86 from Initial D. I'm starting to think that now. There are just too many details that line up. We gotta figure out what the driver's name is. If his name is Takumi, something ain't right here. Otherwise, it's all just a coincidence as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know why, but I really like the corners that have the stripes on them. They just look cool, don't you think? Anyways, let's move on. This is the next camera angle. This is just a first-person camera, which makes it really easy to see the hands doing their thing and the gauges doing their thing as well. And honestly, for drifting games, for some reason, this is the kind of angle I prefer the most, but I don't really know why. For some reason, just a camera angle like this feels the best for drifting. Maybe it's because you can't easily tell when I crash into a wall slightly, and I just feel like I'm a better driver than I actually am when I use this camera angle. I don't know. I really don't know, but the camera right in the middle of the vehicle, that didn't feel too right either. And then even the camera on the hood doesn't feel quite as right as well. But over here, we got something fun we can go ahead and do. So I'm going to go and pull up next to all my buddies. The thing is for some reason, my buddies have huge cars. Their car is huge. Like, I got this little itty bitty car compared to theirs. I don't know why. Their cars are so big. Like, their cars are gonna eat me. It's frightening. Look at this. They are so big. Anyways, so we are almost to the end of this road. We just have another little parking area over here, but this one, nothing really in it. We can drive in circles in here, do little donuts, and that's it. Also, yeah, here's the final camera angle I went to without really thinking. It's just a hood cam. I like how you can see a little pop-up lights right here. They're cute. And that's all you really need to see for the hood cam. Next, we're going to go and crash again. This can be a 100-kilometer-per-hour crash. And that's all that happens. So that's what it's like driving around Gunma, which is the hometown of Takumi. Again, I think they are stealing things from Initial D. Anyways, back to the main menu. And now, let's try using the World War II tank. One of the weird things about this tank, though, is that it's only available in Gunma. If you go to any of the other locations, it's just not available to choose. So we're going back to Gunma, and then we can choose the tank. But first, again, we got to hit the beta, sky, and weather button. You always want to hit that button as long as it doesn't cause your computer to lag. So now we can use the World War II tank. And here is the first camera angle. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Here's the one that doesn't really quite make sense. And here is the final one. I figure most of you guys, though, you'll want to see what this vehicle looks like. So we're going to go to this camera angle so you can see what it looks like from the outside. And again, I do not have control over the camera, so all I can do to really show you the vehicle is do a little spin like that. And that gives you a look at the side, even a little bit of the front of the vehicle. So the question now is, how does this drive? Does it drive like a tank? No. What does it drive like, though? It drives like a really low-end sports car. And you might be thinking, isn't that what the AE68 we were just driving would drive like? Normally, yes, but that did not feel like what you would expect. It felt a lot more powerful. This thing feels a good bit less powerful than that, but it still feels sports car-ish. That's the thing. It still feels like a decently performing vehicle. And one of the funny things about this is look at the rear wheels. Only the rearmost set of wheels actually goes. The middle set of wheels doesn't do anything. It's just there as an illusion. Here, I'll really slide this so you can see it on this next corner. Ready? Go. There it is. There's the wheel. It's not spinning. It's not spinning. It's just totally stationary. So I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, since we've already driven through here, that's all we're going to do with the tank because the tank's kind of just one of those wacky things I had to show off, but we don't need to do a lot of. So now, on to the next location. This one is called Ibaraki. Did I say that right? Who knows? What I do know, though, is that's where Godhand and Godfoot live. Or drive. Live, drive. I don't know. So again, hit the magic button, and then we're going to try out the Suprix. And we have another coincidence on our hands. This vehicle looks a lot like a Supra, so that's the inside. Here is the outside, and one of the interesting things about this vehicle is it is the only one in the game that can get damaged. So if you smash into walls, it'll get all scratched up. And that was actually a pretty good crash. And it does get scratched up in different locations depending on where you crash. So we kind of beat up the back end of the vehicle, so it's all scratched up. But if you look at The left side of the vehicle on the front, it should look mostly intact. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that part still nice and shiny. For now, I'm going to go scratch that part up. But I mentioned this just because the other vehicles don't get scratched up. It's just the Suprix, and I don't really know why that's the case, but that's just the way it is. So we try to scrape up the front a little bit there. Did that work? Probably. Have to wait until I get to the corner here to see. Oh, it's still shiny on that side. We got to keep smashing it. Here we go. That has to have scratched it up. Look at this. I'm just riding this wall. There's no way it's not scratched up after that. Let's see. Is it scratched? There we go. Okay, so that's pretty much as scratched as you can get the vehicle, I think. I couldn't really scratch it well on like the middle of the doors too much. I think that's as much as it can do. Now let's actually try to drive it around this area a little bit. Speaking of the area, it does look different from the one we were driving in before. And then it also feels different as we drive along. For here, it feels a lot more tight and compact where you can't go as fast as the other one. And you know what's really important in racing games, and we haven't talked about it all? The driving physics. You're like, WhyBeAre, it's been 11 minutes and you still haven't talked about how the driving physics are in a game. That's one of the most important things. So how are the physics? To initiate the drift, they are very, very arcadey. Once you're in the drift, they feel a little bit less arcadey because they're not super forgiving. As long as you're not drifting a lot, you're not going to have problems spinning out. But if you try to do a really, really big drift, kind of like that one, it is easy to accidentally overdo it and spin out, or what I did right there is underdo it and then have to turn in the middle of the corner, which just kind of leads to these ugly looking corners. Overall, the controls for this game seem to work fine, because it's not trying to be a super realistic drifting simulator, so it's okay to have these more arcade-like physics, but it's not as easy as a game like the initial D series, where you just basically automatically drift around every corner and you're just more focused on controlling your speed than actually controlling the drift. Anyhow, back to the area we are currently driving on. You'll notice this one is different than the last one because we go uphill and downhill. The last one was just all downhill, so this one you go downhill, then you go uphill, then you're back where you started and you go downhill again for as long as you want. And the only problem is there is no real easy way to see exactly where we started, because I don't think we started at the peak top of the hill, but I can figure out once we've for sure done a whole lap. When we hit the tunnel again, I know I have completed a whole lap of this place and then a little bit extra, so we can go ahead and then go on to the next one after we get to the tunnel, which is right. I thought it was going to be right after that corner. I was wrong. It's the next right turn. Right there. Oh, I was so close the first time. So at this point, I know I've done a lap. We can go ahead and try to crash this thing because we got a nice big straight right here. Gonna go up to like 140 miles per hour, then boom! What does it do? It kind of spins it out and it doesn't look like it gets any more scratched or anything like that. So now back to the main menu. And we're gonna go to the next area, which is Saitama. And for this one, we're gonna use the XR7. But again, you always gotta hit that magic button. Then we hit the XR7. And at this point, I don't think I believe in coincidences anymore. I'm just gonna say, this is modeled after an RX-7. Here's the inside, and then moving on to the outside, you'll also notice that it has some stickers on it. One of the stickers says Red Suns. Where does that come from? Well, that is from Initial D as well. Here, let me show you the Red Sun sticker right quick. There you go. You can see it just for a second as I do a little 180 maneuver there. Now we're gonna go down the hill in reverse because that's the easiest way to do it. At least until the game says, no, that's foolish and cheating. You can't go in reverse, go forward. And you just say, okay, game, I'll do what you say. Don't hurt me. But if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about whenever I reference Initial D, you should go and watch it because it's a really neat show. It's a show about racing and drifting. It's like both, because when they race, they drift. That's just the way it is. And it looks a lot cooler when they do that. That's the thing. It looks cool and it makes for a fun to watch TV show. Just don't think too critically about the things they say about why this is faster than this and whatnot. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Oh, when I say watch it, I mean the original animated series, not the movies. I've never actually watched the movies because I've watched the animated series. I don't need to watch the movies. It's one of those things where it's like, if they came out with a remake of the Titanic and you really like the original Titanic, would you want to go watch that? I don't know. I mean, it's like I already got a great experience with this material that I love. I don't think I really want to change that. I enjoy it. I'm happy. And that's what matters. Anyways, on this course, it's once again one that loops around. We are now going on the uphill section. And again, I don't really do a good job of figuring out exactly where we've made a full loop of the place, but I did see a big rock. Whoops. I kind of messed that one up a little bit. Just lost control. But I saw a big rock. When we find the big rock, that means we've done a whole loop of the place, I think. Also, going back to the initial D references, this is the location where the Land Evo dudes drove, I believe. And it was also the location where there was the Suzuki Cappuccino, which is one of those cars I absolutely love, but there's no real practical reason for me to have, but I see them and I just think they are adorable and awesome. Oh, I just got a little bit airborne right there. That was a little frightening, and the car is bouncing quite a lot. It almost looks like a crossover, it's sitting so high. All right, there's the big rock. I think we have done a full lap of this place, so let's just go ahead and go to the next area, which means pop into the main menu. And the next area we're going to is the last one that makes reference to Initial D. It's Kanagawa, which is the last location that they race in, if I remember correctly. And on this one, I have a free choice of vehicles. Now, the RX-7 is my dream car, so let's use the XR7. And while we drive around here, I want to show you guys what you can do with the tuning menu. So if you pause the game and go over to tuning, you have a lot of options you can change, because it's not just the settings you see here. You also have settings for the transmission, suspension, damping, alignment, brakes, differential, and aerodynamics. That is a lot of settings to really fine-tune the car the way you want it to be. The one big complaint I have, though, is there is no way to save your settings. And anytime you go to a different area or even just hit restart over here, you're going to lose your settings and have to redo them all over again. And when you have this many things to change, that's a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm not going to really show you how to fine-tune the car to make it drive great. Instead, I'm just going to show you some of the ridiculous things you can do with the tunings menu. First thing we're going to do, increase the power to its max. So we go engine torque multiplier all the way, and then the boost amount all the way maxed out, and then also the clutch torque capacity maxed that out to make sure we can put down the power. And now we have a car that makes like 700, 800 horsepower, something ridiculous like that, and is very difficult to control. Like, you would never want to really try to do this usually in this kind of area because it's just like too much power, but it's, look at that flamethrower going, man. It shoots flames. It goes fast. I'm just waiting for that straightaway. Once I see a straightaway, I'm going to floor it and we're going to hit like 200 kilometers per hour in no time. But as you go around the corners, you got to be very careful because it wants to spin out if you floor it in the middle of a corner. It just wants to do it and you got to make sure it doesn't. So here's the straightaway, flooring it up to 150 kilometers per hour. And that was not a long straightaway. Oh, here's an idea actually. We have so much power, I bet, we don't even need to steer to go around the corners fast. We can just do this where we just smash into the walls and slide a little bit like that. Wall riding is a legitimate way to do some racing games. Like, I remember in some of the old Need for Speed games, if you wanted to go really fast with minimal effort, wall riding worked great. And you just do what I'm doing right here. You just slide along the wall and we're going 150 kilometers per hour through there. I almost said miles per hour. I always want to say miles per hour because I am an American. That's what we use. Unfortunately, this game is stuck in kilometers per hour. Now let's mess around with the weight distribution. So we have two options, the weight distribution and the weight distribution height. The fun one to mess with is just the regular weight distribution because we can put it where all of the weight is on the rear wheels and there's like nothing on the front wheels. So what does that do? It makes it where every time you do anything at all, you're going to pop a wheelie basically, unless you're just coasting or braking. It's like I'm just trying to steer right here, and obviously I can't because my front wheels are in the air, so we just kind of bounce off the wall to get us going. And then if we ever need to actually go around a corner, we have to tap the brakes to get the front end to go down. And then as we go around the corner, you can't accelerate at all, but the car just slowly slows down. And it's just really difficult to control and not crash into walls. Basically what happens, you do the same thing we were doing before where we smash into walls, except it's even worse because you got no steering at all. Unless you actually, slow down for a second, but you don't usually want to do that most of the time. And also, if you get stuck like this, yeah, good luck with that. That's very difficult to kind of fix yourself out of because, like I said, you can't accelerate and steer at the same time. And with an area this small, you pretty much always have to accelerate or steer. It's awful. Come on. There we go. We got it. No, we didn't. Yeah, this is bad. This is really just showing you how bad this is. All right, we can scrape the wall now and go. So what I'm getting at is don't do this. Don't put it at 100%. That's just the dumbest thing you can do. But it is a good challenge if you want something that's extremely hard to drive because it just doesn't steer most of the time. But we could drop it down to like a 1585 to make it mostly drivable, but still kind of ridiculous, I think. Let's see, yeah. So we can pop a wheelie when we accelerate hard, but we could actually kind of just go through the corners without having to almost come to a complete stop now. Although in this situation, you do feel like you have too much power. If you had a really low-powered car, it'd be easier because you wouldn't be doing a wheelie all the time. Like, I don't actually have to floor it through the wheelie, I'm finding out. If I do, like, half throttle, yeah, we're probably going to do a wheelie as well. And it's also really difficult in the corner still because you go in a corner and halfway through it kind of pops in the air. So we'll go a little bit more, a 20-80, and see if that makes it any better. Can still do wheelies, but you still got that little lift. You see how that front wheel lifts? When that's happening, I think both of the wheels are lifting. You basically got no steering. All you can really do in that situation is try to stop, except I'm not really a man who likes to stop. I'm a man who likes to go fast, which, you know, doesn't really work too well in these situations. I'm trying to go fast, but you just see, like, it looks like it's working, and then it just stops steering halfway through a corner because it just lifts up too much of the front. Like right here, they did it again. And, oh, that time it kind of worked, except it didn't. But again, when it lifts the whole front up, you can't do nothing. I'm doing a pretty good job for the situation I'm in, actually getting this thing around corners at a decent rate. It just looks really ugly because I keep trying to accelerate too hard. All right, let's try something different. We're going to go to the weight distribution and go the opposite direction. So let's do a 90-10% split. So now all the weight's on the front wheels and we can barely accelerate. What does that do for the car? Let's see. All right, steering is bad. Steering is really bad from that initial one turn. And I'm telling you it's bad, just that initial impression. Because what it feels like it happens is you steer and slide a little bit, and since you got like no weight on the rear is just gonna kick out on you almost immediately. It needs some weight on it to make it actually stay in place. Like I'm sliding just a little bit here, but I don't think you can slide much more than that. Here we go, trying to get in the slide. Yeah, that doesn't work. So let's try something different. First, we need to fix the weight distribution, so make it 50-50, and also make it as low to the ground as it can go, because why not? And now we're gonna basically stance the car. So we're gonna make the ride height as low as it'll go, and then also the spring rate as low as it'll go to make it go even lower. And then for the damping, we don't need to do anything. For the alignment, yes, we're just gonna basically max everything out. That'll get us a real nice stance look, I'm thinking, although we only can do about 5 degrees of camber apparently, which is not the real stance boys. Real stance boys, they use like 20 degrees of camber. I don't think there's really anything else I can do here, so let's just see what it did. You can kind of see the car visibly dropping. Okay, I think, yeah, the car sits so low it just scrapes on the ground, so it can't move. Right, I think that's enough of this area. We'll go ahead and go to the next area now. The final area we're going to be driving at is called Island. And for this area, let's go ahead and use the AE68 one last time. And before we really drive around here, I want to take a look at the weather options. So if you hit M, it pulls up the weather menu. And then you have 3 tabs up here. 2 of them are just kind of graphical settings. The first one is the one that's fun to mess around with. It's the weather itself. So you have the basic things like clear and cloudy. You have more complex things like blowing leaves, blowing pine needles, blowing snow. Then you have the really crazy things like dust storm, fire rain, blue aurora, all kinds of stuff like that. So the firestorm is basically California in the summer where everything's on fire. That usually happens every year, just everything's on fire. That's what this is like. You know, you just got like the fire falling all around you, driving through a fire, that kind of crazy stuff. But then you got, you know, the relaxing things. Like the stuff that I like driving is heavy rain, and then we can even change the time of day so we can make it like nighttime driving in the heavy rain. And for some reason, this is just really relaxing to me. I don't know why, but I'm gonna let you guys experience it as well if I can hit the right button to close the menu and see if you think it's relaxing. Also, we should turn the lights on. That would help, wouldn't it? Okay, one downside is you can't see those corners coming up too well in the dark. So that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and... Well, I could try to change the time of day back to what it was at the defaults, but I don't know if I'll get it right. And I kind of just want it to be the default. So how about we just go ahead and hit restart instead? That might be easier. And I'm going to mess around with the tuning menu one last time before we're done with this video. So we're going to go and stance the car once again. This time, not as much. We're going to go to the ride height. And how about we'll do half of what it is by default. So it's 0.05 now. We'll do that for the front and rear. And then for the alignment, we got to make sure we max out, which is actually go as low as possible now that I think about it. I did it the wrong way before because I want it to be negative camber. That's what makes it look good. Oh, you just see it like sparking as it hits the ground. So it's going to be scraping as we drive. The question is this going to scrape too much? Yeah, I guess we got control over this. Yeah, we can control it. No problem. All right, so how low is it? Not as low as it could be, I don't think. I don't know. It's hard to know because you just see sparks all the time. Except you don't really look like you're going to be touching the ground. It's weird. Let's lower it some more. Go ahead and go to suspension. We'll drop it to 0.04. That should be good. All right. Still can accelerate. Oh, this one you actually kind of feels weird maybe when you're going around the corner. Like it feels like it's scraping some and I can't really accelerate as much as you'd expect because it's just scraping the ground so hard. Like, look at the acceleration here. It doesn't seem like it has that pep it had before. Let's give it that pep. We're going to go to the engine, and we're just going to say give it 300% engine torque multiplier, and then increase the clutch torque capacity. I'm not going to worry about turbocharging it or anything. And that should be enough power, although that doesn't feel right. Like, it looks like it just didn't slide right. Let me try this again. Sliding around the corner. Yeah, I don't know. Whoa. Yeah, it wants to just get free and slide all over the place really easy. I'm assuming it's just because the wheels aren't getting as much traction as they should because the frame is scraping. So let's go ahead and raise it up back to the 0.050 that we had before. That seemed drivable. It still sparked a lot. So it's probably still scraping, but at least we have some control over it. Yeah. Like right there, that felt fine. How does this one feel? Yeah, you can actually drift it even. No problem there. Just don't go lower than that because things start to get wacky. Or you just start to drive bad. Come on. What is that, man? I'm driving terrible. I blame the car. You know what? Oh, why did it just change? Let's fix that real quickly. Get back to 0.05. Now, what was it going to change? Oh, yeah. We're going to do some dumb stuff to finish up the video. First, turbocharge it to the max. Then we get up to a high speed and we drop the car as low as it can go and see what happens. So we're going to almost 200 kilometers per hour. Go to suspension, drop it as low as it'll go, and then let's see what happens. Oh, you can't do nothing still. It just cements itself to the ground and then it's stuck, so that's no good. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for this video. That's pretty much all there is to this game. And to finish up the video in a fun way, I'm going to just make the car as fast as possible and crash into everything for your enjoyment. So until next time, this is WhyBeAre. And remember, if you like or dislike this video, I will know. I can tell by how well the car drifts. So do the right thing, and I'll see you next time.